moderate and satisfactory. Mr. O'Sullivan has just laid in a large supply of the very best wines, spirits, sugars, teas, etc., which he is determined to dispose of at lowest prices possible.
Now that Daniel O'Connell visited, and it has had various owners down through the years. It started out, now Joseph Clark was married 4 times, and he had lots of trouble with the taxman and eventually went bankrupt. But to remember Joseph Clark, Paddy McElligott, who's in my opinion a much better singer than Joseph Clark, is going to sing Goodbye to the White Horse Sea.
To clarify, that's only because Joseph Clark is dead and I'm not. My heart is broken, but what care I? Such pride inside me has woken. I've tried my best, I will try by and by. The final farewells must be spoken. I join the legion, that's what I do. And in some far distant region, certain hearts are gone and so I will start my life and do goodbye. I wish you all that goodbye. Goodbye, goodbye. I wish you all a last goodbye. And let me just say, a thing I noticed about the seat here is marvellous the way they made them all different sizes depending on the size of our posterior. It's a huge advantage.
Thank you very much. Now we're moving on to the terrace of houses that's behind you here, adjacent to the Listowel Arms. And I'm only going to talk about 2 of the inhabitants.
My virgin is gone and my virgin is gone and here am I. Many young men at 20 said goodbye. Many young men at 20 said goodbye. And one day, and break of dawn until the sun was high. Many young men at 20 said goodbye. My virgin is gone from me, sailed away across the sea. My virgin is gone and here am I. Many young men at 20 said
This castle was here since about 1200. It was owned by the Fitzmaurices, and what you're looking out at here just didn't exist 250 years ago, and that's basically where we're kind of going to start. So 250 years ago, this castle was ruined and roofless. In the siege of 1600, it was the last siege in the Desmond Rebellion, the last castle to fall to the Elizabethan sources. So when I was growing up now, it wasn't like in a very bad state, but obviously there were lots of bits of it missing and it was dangerous and we didn't come in here very often. So what you're looking at out in front was what was known at that time as the farm. There were probably a couple of bahans or small cabins around it, just at the foot of the castle. But the rest of it was farmland. And North Kerry is very well known for its rich agriculture and farmland. Mostly dairy, where we were sending butter to Cork very, very early on. But also because there were a number of mills built later in the next century along the river. It was really from the substantial amount of what was called very superior wheat. So we go back to the Fitzmaurices, the people who owned the castle. They were Normans and they came here around sometime after 1200. They actually, at this point, 250 years ago, they owned 90,000 acres of land. They lived here. They owned most of the land in the barony, which is south of the river here, which is called the barony of Clanmorris. And they owned all around Listowel and over to Ballybunion in the barony of Irochty Connor. At the time we're talking about, they had lasted over the years, 500 and something years. They had intermarried locally. They had changed religion a couple of times depending on the political outlook at the time. If you had to change, you changed and that was the end of it. But they were really regarded as Irish, more Irish than the Irish themselves, so nobody had any issues or anything with them at that point. was very racing and a lot of stuff going on about who saw what, when. All of their servants were brought into the evidence, and each, the people, it was her husband who took the action. He was an MP as well from Galway, and his servants would come and say what their servant, what had happened in her house, and his servant would say what would happen in his house. So there were lots of stories about pantaloons down and skirts off and all that. And pantaloons wasn't quite all that. Not, it was very racist. So it was scandalous, obviously, at the time. Both the partners, that she was 20 years older than me.
McMahon wrote the words and O'Connor did the illumination. And we are very lucky in that the O'Connor family, who have a lot of their uncles and fathers' work, have agreed to give it back to Kerry Writers Museum for display to the public as soon as Kerry Writers Museum get a place where it can be conserved and shown to us properly. So we're all very excited about that project in the near future. Now, in tribute to Brian McMahon, Mary is going to sing My Silver River Field.
My heart tonight is lonely for my sire land, though many miles of ocean lie between. My heart tonight is home again in Ireland, with many a smiling buccal and colleen. I would in that Greenland o'er the billows 1 hour of youth this roving lass could steal, to stand again and watch the red dawn breaking upon thy banks, my silver river field. I've had success, or so the world reckons. I've everything I've wished for at my hand, yet o'er the seas an Irish river beckons, and how can I deny its clear command? For what?
But to give him his due, Francis writes back, I certainly would not have you demand any rent for the tenement called the Mess House. You say it is customary to grant land free for such purposes, and I will certainly not break through the custom. People's consciences should be untaxed, and though no one should take the utmost inquiries to convince the lower people of their error in point of religious opinions, yet this far and no further should one go.
Against the famine and the crown, our bells they shot me down. You must raise our child with dignity. Lie the fields of Athenry, where once we watched the small free birds fly. Our love was on the wing, so lonely around the fields of Athenry. It's so lonely around the fields of Athenry.
Father Brennan, Kevin Brennan, who was the parish priest at the time, locked the gates of the church against her. The local people were so angry, and the Catholic family were very well respected and very popular, that they stormed the gates and broke down the gates. And he relented and let her into the church. And he actually attended her funeral afterwards. He was sorry for what he did when he saw it was such an unpopular deed. But Peggy's brother was a ballad writer and a singer called Sean McCarthy. And Sean McCarthy felt very bitter towards the Catholic Church because of what had happened to his sister. And one day he was telling his friend Brian McMahon his story about it, and he couldn't get over the bitterness that he felt towards the church for what had happened. And Brian McMahon said to him, why don't you write a song about it, because it's what you do and you might feel a bit better. And he wrote this song that Mary's going to sing for you now. The song is Love in Shame, and in it he's talking to her unborn child about the life that is ahead of her.
They whisper their stories and they glance with the eye. They look over my shoulder when I pass them by. My mother and father, they treat me the same. Hear the nightingale crying in shame, love, and shame, love, and shame. Oh, cling to me tight, love. Take hold of my hand. The road, it is long, long, and harsh is the land. That's the cross we must carry for having no name. Hear the nightingale crying in shame, love, and shame. I had wings to my feet.
How deep is the river? How silent your cry? With water baptize you, then we'll both bear a name. Now the nightingale cries, there's no shame, love, no shame.
Oh, come on, good men and true, a sad tale I'll tell to you of a maiden who was known to me as Sive. She was young and sweet and fair, but that household sad and bare, her marriage to an old man would contrive. Now, the tinker's son came into that house of want and sin, and his father, Pat Spocock, smote on the floor, saying, "Catalan, my blade, let a noble song be made, bringing plenty on this house forevermore. Oh, my Clavin, you're the man, you were always in the van, with an open door to old man and garçon. May white snuff be at your wake, baker's bread and curry cake, and the plenty on your table late and soon." But they scorned the tinker's son, and his song of praise was done, and his father, Pat Spocock, smote on the floor, saying, "Catalan, my jewel, let a song both wild and cruel settle down upon this house forevermore." And you know this verse now. On the road to Abbey Fair, where I met a man with mail. Come here, says he, and pass your idle time. On me he made quite bold, saying, "The young will wed the old, and the old man have the money for the child." Pat Spocock made on his quest, saying, "Sing your mighty best." And the song of Catalan was like a blight. May the snails devour his corpse, may the rain do harm worse, may the devil sweep the hairy crater soon. He's as greedy as a sow, as the crow behind the plough, the black man from the mountain shining roar. May he screech with awful thirst, may his brains and eyeballs burst, that melted of a dawn, that big Boston. May the flares eat up his bed, and the mange consume his head, the black man from the mountain shining roar.
Eating spuds 3 times a day, and easing them down with sour milk when we had it. Everything else, oats, calves and pigs, went to pay the rent. Would you believe it? I had never tasted a mouthful of bacon, mutton or beef until I joined the Lincolns, although I spent all my time feeding pigs, sheep and cattle. The nearest we went to it was the odd time we boiled a sheep's head for soup, or filled his puddings with blood and mashed potatoes for a Sunday dinner. To make a long story short, we failed to keep up with the rent, and Lord Listowel gave orders to clear us all out, Colberts, Connors and Collins alike. They came a small Christmas day in January 1863, bailiffs, healers and soldiers, and held us out in the cold bog before dawn. They burned down the houses for fear we'd go back into them when their backs were turned, and took my father and the other grown-up men into the workhouse in Listowel with them. They did that out of charity, they said, because Lady Listowel wouldn't sleep the night if the poor creatures were left homeless on the mountain. They left me and my brother Patsy to look after ourselves. We slept out with the hares a couple of nights, eating sways that had ice in the hat to them.
I suppose now they have on my mate, we'll go on St. Patrick,
What there? Not these ones.
No, give me 3 weeks time now and then from Patrick's scarves.
Well, no, I'll be down through. I'll tell her to make sure. What's your name?
Graham O'Connor.
We'll be fine.
What it seems here was dangers. Now, George Ranger married in Missouri, and he was right went and lived in Massachusetts, and they had 5 children. But very tragically, Mrs. Ranger died. She very devastated was killed. And George decided that he would bring his family back to Missouri, and he would settle them in Missouri, because they were Church of Ireland, and in Missouri they would have benefit. He knew if he bought a premises in the square, that he would have the church and the school, and he was better than people wanted to build the square. So he resettled his family back to Cumberland.
I love hope, I love tears, I love freedom, I love fear, but it's not the I who left behind. But the I that home is always on your mind.
Righteousness was a man called Kevin Janigan, and he was premises for which is now Avenue Pictures. It was in Hotel Remedy, it was called. He went about he produced a program called
Oh, sweet Listowel, I've loved you all my days, your towering spires and shining streets and squares, where sings the field its everlasting lays, and whispers to you in its evening prayers. Of all fair towns, none has so sweet a soul, our gentle folk, compassionate and true. Where'er I go, I love you, sweet Listowel, and doff my distant cap each day to you. Down by the field, the willows dip their wands from magic bowers where soft the night wind sighs. How oft I've roamed along your moonlight banks, where late love blooms and first love never dies. Of all fair towns, none has so sweet a soul,